Okay, now for some fun. The Station Forge Ogryn are nice, but then I came across the Valor Corps Bullgryn. First thing that went through my mind, the first time we see Frank in 28 days later.
Down the corridor, flat 157.
No! Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, the 3D prints came out great because they are such beefy boys. Just pulling away the supports after a soak in warm water worked flawlessly. A bunch of the little stubs left by the supports, well, I kept those in place. They look like additional rivets and studs, even on the cloth. The others I just took off with an X-Acto. Right, magnetizing. The loadouts are the Grenadier Gauntlet, the Ripper Gun, the Maul, the Slab Shield and the Brute Shield. First, grabbing the magnets. I'm using the Magnet Soul combo pack. There's 3 sizes, and seeing as I have plenty of room, I'm gonna use the big uns. First, I dropped them on the base of various drill bits until I found one that was a perfect fit. Then, placed the drill to the torso of the figure and drilled slowly in. I'd pause, check to see if it was deep enough to swallow the magnet all the way, and if needed, drill a bit more. A few swipes of a brush to get the loose material out of the way, and then I drilled an identical pit in the arm. A drop of super glue in the torso pit, and then just dropped a magnet in and let it dry. Once it was set, a dab of glue in the arm hole, and then I grabbed the column of magnets and pushed them towards the torso magnet. When they repelled, they are the right way round, so I just pushed the column into the arm and wiped aside, using my thumbnail to keep the magnet in place because otherwise the other magnets can flip it in the hole and make it useless. Using my thumbnail lets the column get out of range before the deposited magnet is exposed. For the other limbs, I opted to use a small drill bit to make a pilot hole so that the big drill bit didn't wander off course when I deployed it. This got the magnets nice and centered, so no awkward looking limbs. Then some glue on the feet and get my Bullgryn onto their bases. I printed small Aquila for the shields to place over the Valor Corps logo because having them on the helmet, the shoulder and the shield was a bit much. But for one of them I printed an Aquila a little larger than normal and am putting this on a shield so I can make this one the Bonehead. On to priming, a metal ruler that is now indistinguishable as such due to the layers of primer coating it.
I am in disguise.
Is perfect for arranging the magnetized limbs so you can get them from every direction all at once. No doing one side, waiting for it to dry before doing the other. I've got things to do. I placed the ruler across a box, I got some hiking boots in, gave the Bullgryn a spray from every angle, and then a squirt across all the limbs and some other bits before flipping the ruler up so I can do the other side of the weapons and limbs. Prop the ruler up between a couple of cans, and okay, let's take a look at the loadouts. Nice! First up, a layer of Abaddon black across the whole model and on all the weapons, limbs and the shields. Once dry, breaking up the Thunderhawk blue, a dab of the dry brush into the paint, wipe off the excess and then shed the rest of the excess on the back of my thumb. When it's almost gone, light skims across the model catch the fabric wrinkles, the hems of the clothing, the gloves, the front of the gas mask, the boots and stirrups, the webbing and the pouches. Then onto the limbs, dry brushing to accentuate the wrinkles, the cuffs and the gloves. No worries about getting any on the weapons, I have a plan.
I got a goddamn plan!
Then Dawnstone, and an even more delicate application to catch all the edges where the blue went, just a little more subtle. And then Iron Hand Steel. The nice, flat, wide and thin dry brush let me get in on the armour and brush out away from the cloth, giving the depth of the plates a little accent, with more distinct steel on the corners. This is where the stray blue and grey landed, and so the silver covers it all up nicely.
I love it when a plan comes together.
The breastplates, pauldrons and helmet, the pipes of the gas mask, the weapons, the knee and shin guards, all of it gets swipes of silver. The rivets catch it and it really brings them out, as it does on the Aquila as well. Then a layer of Nuln oil just over the Iron Hand's silver. Next up, corn red on the pauldrons, and because they are so thick, delicately along where it rises up from the cloth of the sleeves. Again, any misses, a plan is afoot. For the bonehead, he gets a red helmet, and the larger Aquila on his shield gets red as well, so he can be discerned easily in the heat of battle. Once dry, a layer of Carroburg crimson, which creates a nice dark hue along where the metal rests on the cloth, concealing any stray red quite nicely. Leave it to dry completely, and then a couple of additional applications of the crimson to add more shadow where needed. The armour is so much larger than on the infantry, it looks a little plain. So, a subtle dry brush of Astro Wrath red, catching the edges and the emblem and the rivets much better. Onto the base, a squirt of Elmer's glue, and then wiped around the whole thing with a brush, and then a gentle sprinkle of sand from one of my climbing trips to Red Rocks, Nevada. Let it dry completely, and add some more glue and more sand to any areas that are a little sparse and therefore darker, to get the colour consistent. Then the Cadian flesh tone, dry brushed around the boots so that they look like they've been marching rather than just dropped off, and around the bottom of the slab shields because they've slammed them into the sand and took shelter behind them. And then some army painter swamp tufts for that bleached out starving desert grass vibe. And to ensure the attraction of the magnets to each other, I've got to get the paint off of them. This is done with using some of my lock picks. The X-Acto knife is a little too sharp, I don't want to cut anything off, but lock picks are great for just scraping around, getting the paint off and cleaning up the magnets. And lastly, once dry, a quick squirt of matte varnish from every direction from about a foot away to seal them in and lock down the sand. So here's my unit of Bullgryn with Bonehead. Initially assigned as auxiliaries to the Death Corps 26th Gorgothan, these monstrous abhumans quickly proved their worth via their ferocity and brutal strength. Ploughing into combat with a dedication that the Krieg couldn't help but appreciate, the Bullgryn remained assigned to this Death Corps regiment. As they were redeployed to ever more hazardous war zones, protective gear was produced and issued to them. At this, the fierce loyalty of the Bullgryn rose to new heights because they saw this as a sign of acceptance, of finally blending in via the respirators worn universally throughout the force. As replacements became needed, their fellows assessed the new arrivals, allowing only the most ferocious and devoted to join their ranks, and through service earn the coveted respirator and distinctive helm of the Gorgothan 26th Bullgryn Elite.